Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Let's start this session with a wonderful quote. Success in business is not just about having a great idea, it's about building a strong structure and continually refining your process to turn that idea into a sustainable reality. For starting this new chapter of learning today, I, Tanuja, being the host for today's evening, wants to extend a warm greeting to all of you present here. I hope you all are doing amazing. Business organization and process development can help the ventures thrive in an ever evolving marketplace. Business structure and process development are interconnected. They're critical for achieving organizational goals. Adaptability and innovation are key success factors, while measuring and monitoring ensure continuous improvement. A well defined structure, whether it's a sole proprietorship partnership, cooperation, or another form, provides the framework for your business operations. Adapting and evolving market conditions, measuring performance, and continuous improvement are integral to maintaining competitiveness. On behalf of the whole SEMS family, I welcome all of you today for this international webinar on business structure and process development. I also welcome our guest of honor and the speaker for today, Ms. Vanessa Orji. It is a great honor to have you with us, ma'am. We are grateful for your presence. Now, let me introduce you to the speaker, Ms. Vanessa Orji. Ms. Vanessa hails from the vibrant country, Nigeria. She is the CEO of Visible Culture Limited. She trains small and medium enterprises owners on some key aspects of business startup. She is passionate about leadership and development. She loves to read, write, and travel, and to cook. She has handled the role of business development and sales manager for over 10 years consecutively in different organizations. As a business development consultant for an investor, she has played three in one role: Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operations, and Human Resource Manager. Her experience in different industries brought her to the conclusion that there are three important factors that every organization needs to succeed, that are people, process, and profit. Ms. Vanessa's core values are respect, integrity, excellence, care, growth, and development, which I believe makes her the woman she is today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. We can unmute and just say good afternoon. Good afternoon from Nigeria. And it's good to meet you all today. Okay, so I have 15 minutes, 55 minutes to take us through this seminar on structure and process development. And as much as possible, I want it interactive. So at some point, you can unmute and say something. There are some questions I'm going to ask, and I need a corresponding response. So you might want to unmute and answer, please. So I like interactions. Yes, a time will come where you have to listen, but a time will come I'll need you to just say something, right? So I'll be sharing my screen so we can go through the slide together. And yes, my discussion is on business structure and process development. Yes, the moment you say development, it means how do you develop a business structure? How do you develop a process? How do you develop it? And to know the how, you definitely want to know the why. Yes, to know the how, you might want to know the why. Before you know how to do a thing, you want to know why you need to do this thing. A lot of people have businesses. I asked, and I want to be sure that a lot of us here have businesses, and sometimes we do not know why we're struggling with our businesses at some point, like maybe 2, 3 years into the business. I always say that whatever you do not start from the beginning, if you do not have a clear structure and process from the beginning, you might suffer at the middle. And sometimes you might just have to go backward. You might have to reverse to go start from the beginning again to be able to get it right. And so I think for this training, the main point of this is if you're about to start a new business, if you're already in business, we can just decide to say, okay, we need to know how we want to develop our structure and process. There is no business without structure and processes. Any business without structure and processes is going nowhere. It's actually going nowhere. You even have no measuring line of the success. Yes. The best way to measure a success, a business success, is through the structure and the process, because you can weigh and see exactly what you're doing with this true. So first, okay, so I'm going to, okay, so According to Harold Greening, every organization has two structures. The former one is written on a chart. Yes, as business people, we love to document, write. If you see people's business plan, it's so beautiful and all of that. But the other one is the everyday relationship of the men and women in the organization. This will give you a bit of picture of what structure is like. Yes, if you have the one on chat, but the main one is the one that deals with the everyday life of men and women, it just tells you that there's really no structure without people. There's really no structure without people. So it's easy to have, a written down plan on your paper. But if you can write it on your paper, but you can't put it into people, it will never come to light. It will never come to light. So a lot of people can have, they have been able to go online, get a beautiful structure, put it down on papers. A lot of companies are suffering because they actually have policies, they have written down structures, written down processes. But do the people understand this? Have the people come to terms with this? Have they come to believe this? Have they come to understand this? And if they have, do they really have the nitty-gritty knowledge of bringing this to bear? Do they have this? So now this is it. So I'm going to drop a picture now, and can we all see the pictures? Can we all see? I need response. Can we all see the pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell what the first picture represents? Can you tell?
Ma'am,
I need an answer.
ma'am,
Can you tell?
it is a
Can you
ma'am,
tell what the first picture represents?
ma'am, the church and the offices,
Okay.
mosque,
Yes.
restaurant, cafeteria.
Okay, great. Did you see that I didn't have to write the name of this structure, but seeing the structure, you know exactly what it stands for, right? So it simply tells you if my business, you need to know what your business wants to give out, then you can know the structure. So, and the moment a structure is a clear picture of what a business is, actually, it's a clear picture of what a business is. So if we come to do business with you and we can't really have a clear picture of what you're doing or what you stand for, it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem. So I see a church, and when I see a church, you want to ask yourself, what makes up a church? You have a congregation, you have people, you have a priest. There are things that make up church. When you look at the offices, you look at what makes up the office. When you look at the cafeteria, you know what makes up the cafeteria. When you look at the mosque, you know what makes up a mosque. But now in business, we see a lot of businesses, we can't really tell what does this business stand for? What do you represent? It's not just about, the sales activities. What do you represent in a nutshell? If we see the people working for this company without them saying a word, I didn't have to tell you what these images represent. Without them saying a word, can you tell what they represent? And all of this is built in a structure. And that is why structure is not built at the middle of a business. It's not built at, 3-4 years when you've gone into the business. Structures are meant to be built, developed before you go into the business. Yes. So, okay. So here's a business structure refers to the legal structure. Okay, sorry. This structure refers to the legal structure of an organization that is recognized in a given jurisdiction. Yes, I want to highlight this word, given jurisdiction. Yes, because an organization's legal structure is the key determinant of the activities that it can undertake. So there are things you would find going on in the church. You would wonder, is this a church or has it become something else? There are things you find going on in the school. You get confused. Why are they doing this in a school? Is it supposed to be in a school or why is it supposed to be? So when you say a given jurisdiction, it is believed that every business has a legal recognized, process and structure that it proves within a given jurisdiction. And so you need to know this before you go into a business. If you're in the media space, if you're in the finance space, the way you structure your business is not the way people in the media space will structure their business. If you are in the hospitality space, the way you structure your business is not the way the health medical practitioners will structure their business. So you knowing exactly what business are you going for? Whether it's a small, whether you are starting from a small point, but from your small point, you should be able to have a clear picture of where you are going to. And this is what helps you create and develop a structure that can help you move from one level to another. So it is the first step to consider before any step is taken. And a business structure determines a business growth, expansion, and sustainability. Yes. So a lot of times when you're looking for investors to invest into your business, when they go through your business plan, they are going straight to the structure. They want to see the structure because in their head, the structure would help them know.
कौन
Sorry, is someone
पता नहीं भैया, कुछ नहीं कह सकते। रोहित
okay?
का रहता है, कुछ बना लेता है तो
Okay, can we
लगता है
unmute? Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am,
okay.
we can hear you.
Okay, so it is the first step to consider before any step is taken, and the business structure determines the business growth. Yes, the moment I can see your structure, I can tell if there is hope for this business. I can tell if I put my money into this business, will it profit me or not? So it is actually very, very important that we know that we cannot. You can't say, oh, I'm running a business and you have no structure. You can't say it's just a small business. It's just small capital. No matter the amount of capital you're putting into the business, I don't think your plan, before you go into the business, you want to know exactly what business are you looking out for. And whatever structure you choose determines the level of growth, determines whether you want partners, whether you want investors, whether you want employees. It determines a lot. So it takes us to the next slide. Business types, yes. So your business types determines your business structure. So we have the sole proprietorship, we have the partnership, we have the corporation, we have the limited liability. And you know why this is very, very important? Because we have a lot of people out there claiming to be running a corporate business, but they are running it using the sole proprietorship style. And they wonder why they can't get investors. They wonder why, when they discuss with business people that would have been prospective partners, they don't have a chance to discuss the second time. It's simply because these business partners, these people have gone through their structure and they are confused. Yes. Because you cannot say, oh, our company, we're partners, but you're running a sole proprietorship. I've seen this happen a lot of times. You have like 2-3 people who come together to agree upon a business, but there's just one person that the business cannot do without. And maybe this one person is the one person who is present and the other 2 people are away. But the one person just runs the business like, okay, I am the only one involved. Before you know, the other 2 people would actually come to a point where they say, we don't want to be a part of this again. And they walk away. So, and this is because even from the start, even when they claim they're coming into partnership, there was no clear structure, because each and every one of this business type have the structure that goes with it. The sole proprietorship, you and I know, you can use your personal account, you can just sit down and you're just doing your business. You don't need to employ anybody. If you want to employ family member, it's just you. There's no scheme, there's no salary scheme. It is just you and you alone. As beautiful as this business is, where nobody gets to interrupt you, you might not even be asked to pay taxes and all of that. As beautiful as it is, it has a huge limitation. So a sole proprietorship cannot even sit back and start looking out for investors. There are some contracts they can't even do. They can't do contract like here in Nigeria. They can't even do government contracts because there are processes you must take to be able to get a contract from the government. So it's assumed from the beginning, if you choose a sole proprietorship business, your structure definitely is limited. And if that is what you want, no problem. But don't say, okay, the partnership business has to do with 2-3 people coming together. This might bring money, this might bring intellectual property, this might bring assets, and they come together and they run a business. Now, and the moment it's partnership, of course, from the start, they actually have to have a structure, profit sharing, everything the business entails. They have to have a structure on how it runs. And anybody who comes into the business, who comes to look into the business, should see a clear picture that this is a partnership business, should know that there is not one person that owns the business. And with that, you are safe. So you do not make a deal with one person in this business. And when the deal backfires, you think, oh, Yeah, because it's not one person, and one person has no right to make a decision. Partnership business, one person cannot make a decision. The decision has to come from both parties. So if you understand this, you know the structure. So anybody who is doing a partnership business and does not have a clear structure of this, you want to run away from them. They scare you off. And truly, when I look at business structure, the first thing I want to ask is, please, can you explain your business type? Can I see your there are people who have registered the corporate businesses, they've registered corporate organizations, yet because of the what they need to pay, the processes they need to take, they actually shy away from it. And they almost want to run like, a sole proprietorship. But they forget that all of this task you're carrying out, everything you're doing under corporation, it gives you a greater privilege that sole proprietorship will not give to you. So you know what this means? When you build a structure, any structure you build determines where you are going to. It doesn't matter the structure you build in your head or the structure you build on paper. It is the structure that is visible that people look out for, people believe. So I can go through your papers and see your beautiful structure policies on papers. But when I come into the business and start to witness what goes on in the business, I look at your financial statement and all of that. It gives me a clear picture of what your business is like, not minding what is in the paper. Yeah, when people are looking for business, when they want to submit to, investors and all of that, they always have a way of bringing down, doing a very amazing business plan with great structure. Yes, beautiful. But when you now sit with them or you come into the business to witness for yourself before you take a step, you realize that what they have on paper is not what they have. And that's what Rodolph Green was trying to say, Janen. It's not about the formal one written on the charts. It is more about the one shown by the people who are running the business. Do we understand? And so we know the limited liability company. This one, you have people coming who have shares in the company. And truly, this kind of company too, there are decisions you just can't take. The government is on your case. There are a lot of processes you need to take to meet up, even from the registration process. This is one business you just can't start. If you say your business is a limited liability company, there are processes. Every country have their own. We have our CAC, our Corporate Affairs Commission. You go through, you register it. And when you register, you find out that the signature is not just one person. The limited liability company is not one person. You're expected to have shares. You can choose to have shares with just one person. You can choose to have shares with 3-4 people. But whatever, there are directors on board for this. Do we understand? So these are different business types. And so if you are about to go into business, you might have a clear picture of, so what am I looking at? Where am I going to? How do I want to run this business? For now, all I want to do is sole proprietorship. I do not want anything. Somebody else can say, okay, if I speak to this person, 2 of us can come together and create an amazing business. But everything boils down to from the beginning. It doesn't happen in the middle of the business. It's something you should have clearly. You should have written it out clearly. You know it clearly. And once you are able to build it, you know the right people to bring in. Do we understand? Are there questions coming in? Please, I don't mind questions coming in as I speak. I don't mind questions coming in, and I will be asking questions. Can we all hear me? So I want to ask questions. How many of us have businesses here? From everything I've explained about the business type, maybe you just want to let me know you have a business and which of this business type would you say you have going on for you? It's a question, and please, I need responses. Thank you. Anybody with an answer? I wanted this to be interactive, and this is what we agreed. So it's interactive, and I need to hear from everyone. So please, I want to hear from us. How many of us have businesses, and what type of business are we running at the moment?
Madam, I'm working as an employee, ma'am. I don't have a personal business, ma'am.
Sorry?
I'm working as an employee, ma'am, with an organization. I do not have my own personal business.
Okay, you don't have your own personal business. Okay, you're working for an organization. But what would you say? What's your organization? What's their different what's their structure?
Madam,
From what
I
I've
think
explained, do you know what the structure of your organization is?
Madam, I think the organization is a corporate structure, ma'am.
Corporate
The
business. Okay.
organization is not in the private partnership or in sole proprietorship, ma'am. It's a corporation. It has
Okay, it's a
a
corporation.
yes,
Okay.
a tech corporation.
Okay. 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 Thank you. Any other person? Any other person? Are we all employees? Okay, I want to understand. Are we all employees?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Oh, we're mostly employees. Okay,
Yeah.
so what's your organization?
I work for SEMS itself.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I actually work for SEMS itself.
Okay.
Am I audible,
What's
ma'am?
what's the structure of your business? Of your company? What's the structure?
Actually, ma'am, our company is the NGOs. It's a non-profit government
Okay, okay, you all are
organization.
okay, okay. Now my question is, does any of you apart from your company, do you run any kind of business or do you have an idea, a business idea already that you are looking forward to doing? Yes.
Actually, ma'am, talking about my dad, he is a businessman. Okay,
Oh, great.
and he is a distributor.
Okay, he's a distributor. So
Yeah.
can you give an idea of what his structure is? Is it a sole proprietor? Is it a partnership? Is it corporation? You know what corporation is? It's not about for corporation, we don't even know. The owner might not be the MD or the CEO. The business is away from the owner of the business. So which structure do you think? Is it a limited liability where there are directors with shares?
Ma'am, as for I think that my dad is a sole proprietorship. He has
Okay,
his
sole proprietorship.
he has his own
Okay.
business. The shopkeeper used to contact us, and we used to sell them item, all the things,
Oh,
distributor.
okay, 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 okay. So he's a sole proprietor.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So you know why I asked this question? I'm asking this question because I want to understand. I want to know that okay, it's okay that we all are working for an organization, but we also need to understand that this knowledge is not a waste, whether you work for a company or you work for yourself. A lot of companies I have worked for, I got in there and I looked into the company and I told them, okay, we're running a wrong structure for this business. And I had to help them rebuild structures. And I'm always lucky to have bosses who give me the opportunity to bring in my expertise. So a lot of companies have gone to, and I look at their books and I'm like, sir, we can actually correct this. This company can grow this big. Like I worked somewhere and I knew that this company is fit to be a corporate organization. I was telling my boss, can we get in investors? You have everything it takes. People will truly want to invest into this business. I told my boss, we are big enough to be a corporate organization, but we still run like a sole proprietorship where if you're not around, nothing happens. And this is not meant to be. And my boss said, okay, Vanessa, design a structure and let me see. And I had to design. So this knowledge you're getting, now you're working in an NGO. And the beautiful thing with the NGO you're working is that you are trying to empower people. If you don't have an idea of all of this, you might end up empowering people who get to waste resources because they do not have knowledge. So this knowledge isn't even a waste, whether you're working for an NGO, you're working for an organization, or you're doing business for yourself. Because you want to live here knowing that when somebody comes tomorrow to say, oh, I need sponsorship from your NGO, I have this business, you want to look through their structure and tell yourself, is this worthy to be invested in? And if it's not, what else can I do for this person? If it is, but the person doesn't have a clear picture, how can I help this person redesign their structure? Do we understand? So that's the importance of this training. And I always say that structure and process is something that is needed everywhere, including the home. Including the home, you can go into a family, you can go into somebody's house, and you know exactly what kind of value it runs here, what kind of structure they run. You would know whether the mother is the breadwinner or the father is the breadwinner. You will just get to know somehow when you look into the home. You can know what kind of structure this is. Do they have respect? Do they believe in hierarchy where the elder ones, the younger ones respect the elder ones, or it's a family where nobody respects nobody? It all starts with structure. It all starts with from when the two couple come together and they tell themselves, what kind of home do we want to build? What kind of structure do we want to have? That is just the same way it is with business. It is with church. It is with mosque. Everything in life needs structure to thrive. So structure and processes is not limited to, just for people who want to run business. No, it is what makes you who you are and makes your ideas come to life. So now, factors that make up a business structure. Yes, there are things we are looking out for why do you want to create a structure? What does this structure entail? What will it profit you? What's the purpose of structure? I can just run my business and allow it go. No, there are factors that make up a business structure. And I always say it is people, process, and profits. People, process, and profits. And I'll start with people. Every business, every organization, everywhere you go to, there is a management. And when I mean management, I mean it might be the owner, it might be the group of people who are heading that place, the partners, the sole proprietor, whoever you are, but it is your idea, it is your business. So everywhere you go, and no business is owned by an animal. It is always a human being. Yes. No home is run by an animal. It is always a human being. No organization is run by an animal. It's always a human being. So there is no structure without people. So when we say a structure, we're looking at, when we say people, we're looking at management. Then we look at the employees. Yes. The moment you have created, okay, this is what I want. This is the structure I've created and all that. You begin to pull in people who are going to fit into different parts of the structure to make it grow. Because that I build structure on a chart and there is nobody to run this structure, I have not built any structure. So every organization goes about employing people. They get to employ people, and these people are to run the structure. So imagine that you don't have a structure. How would you know people you would employ? If your business is a financial business and you didn't build a structure, how would you know the kind of staff you need? How would you know the different parts people have to play and the kind of people to fit in? So you see, it's actually very, very important that you build structure, and the structure, there's no structure without people. And the people start from the management, the employee, and your clientele base. Very, very important, because the reason why we do things, the reason why you're structuring your business is at the long run, you want people to patronize you. You want people to believe in what you're doing. You want people to support you in different ways. So you cannot build a structure that does not consider the structure must consider the management, consider the employee, consider the clients. Very, very important. And all these are people. They are the most important. A structure that have a business that has amazing management, bad employees might have issues. A business that have bad management, good employees will still have issues. It always starts from these two before the down. Bad management, good employees will affect the client somehow. Good management, bad employees will still affect the clients. So your structure must consider these categories of people. So a structure that's why I always say that when you build a structure that outlives personnel. So anybody who comes, because it's a structure, people come in and they fit in, and when they can't fit in, they know they do not fit in. If you go to the medical profession, when you put out there that you're looking for a medical doctor, it's actually going to be hard to see a banker applying for that position. No, a banker isn't going to apply for that position. Whoever is not a professional doctor would not apply for that position because it's clearly stated. But you can, if a hospital put out, we're looking for an admin staff, or if you just put out, we're looking for employees, there is vacancy, and there's no clearly, everybody would apply for it. But from your structure that you have built, you know exactly who you want at a particular time. You know the profession you need, you know the certifications you need. Even as management staff, from the management, you want to start up this business, you will know exactly what you want to get. You know how you want to get it. You know where you want to get it. And you know how you want to fit it in. Because it is first the management. You can't invite people to your house if you have not prepared your house. I try to use things we can relate to it to explain all of this. So you can't invite people to your house. You can't employ people to your business if you don't even understand what the business entails. That is why a lot of times when you start your business, you run it for yourself. Like for me, I'm a professional photographer. I have worked in different studios and I've actually set up studios a lot for people. And I've done this for years. Now I'm thinking about setting up for myself. And because of how many years I have been doing this, because of how many years I've been doing this, I no longer, there is no fear. I know the nitty gritty of what it would take me to set up from start to finish, to set up from start to finish. So we understand now that we just cannot help. The management must know exactly the structure they are building. They know the employee, the people they are bringing in, and they know their clientele base. Hospitals seek out for patients. Hotels seek out for tourists, people on tourists. So your business structure determines the kind of clients you're looking out for. So, okay, can we unmute our mic? I want to hear from us. I want to hear. Okay, let me check the chat and see if there are questions here.
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question.
Okay, please ask your
Am I
question.
audible to you?
Sorry, I
Am I
can't hear.
audible? Am I audible to you? Yeah. So, am I audible to you?
Yes, we can hear you, Lakshmi.
Yeah. Thank you, Tamika. Yeah. So, so basically, before we enter into some business, right? So that we can get hang on people, employees, and all, we just have to know. We must first figure out the what type of business do we have to enter into, right?
Yeah.
So could you please, brief us something more about it? Like how to choose a business, say, which one to, choose, which one would be appropriate.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Oh, I'm asking you, before we enter into choosing people and all, we must first have an idea on how we have to choose a business, right? So, what could you please tell us on how to choose a business, a
How
field
to do
in
some
which?
business.
Yeah.
How to do some business.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
okay, okay, okay. Okay. Thank you for that question. Okay, so there are different kinds of business. If your business is buying and selling business, number one, you want to check out the environment. You want to check out before you start a business, ask yourself, what solution do you want to serve? What solution do you want to serve? What is this business for? Yes, it is for profit, but we don't just do business for profit. We do business also to solve a problem. And while we solve a problem, we're getting, profits for solving a problem. So you want to ask yourself, if you want to do a food business, you can look at your environment and see what is lacking in this environment. What kind of food do I want to cook? What kind of people? What is the gap in this business? As much as, yes, there are lots of business, everybody can jump into business, but you know where you are staying. And I will always advise when you're doing business, you want to look at your environment. You don't want to live in Delhi and you are taking your business to another city. No, you want to do your business wherever you are. So now you look at that environment. What is lacking? If it is not lacking, people that are doing this, what are they missing? And what am I bringing to the table? What am I going to do different to see this business, to have my own customers doing this business? Why I do this business. So I really cannot pick out, like I'm in Nigeria. If a Nigerian asks me this question, there are lots of, small businesses. Salon, the hair business, you can do the hair business, you can do street food business. There are a lot of small business. But I really don't know what it's like in India. But I would always say that if you want to do a business, the number one thing you want to look out for is what problem do you want to solve? Do you want to solve the problem of health? Do you want to solve the problem of food? Do you want to solve the problem of agriculture? What problem do you want to solve? And if you look at this problem you want to solve, you now ask yourself, how do I, what does it entail? If it's a large capital business, is it something I can actually do? Now you look at yourself, where you're coming from, what you have. You look at the kind of business you want to go. And like I always tell people, you do not judge your starting point from your end point. No, you have an end point where you can start from somewhere. But when you are structuring your mind, structure beyond where you are. You might choose to sell food for the streets, but the picture you have is owning a massive restaurant. But to own that restaurant, you are starting to sell food from the streets. So even from today, your structure should accommodate that dream you have ahead of you. So you do not start the small business and there is no way you can actually navigate. A lot of people started small, 50 years, they are still small because they never had a structure for something big. So no matter what's coming, they are not expanding, they're not adding more. We're going to get there where you see how you can actually increase your business. But if you are going to do a business, madam, you want to do a business, look at your community. What is lacking? What solution can you provide? And this solution that you want to provide, is this something you can provide with what you have on ground, with the people you have on ground? And remember, if you're starting a business, I always advise, try as much as possible not to take loan. Loan can come in when you have started a business and you have seen the effects of the business. Remember, business in our mind is not business in real. So you don't start business with your mind and you assume you achieved. And at the end of the day, you find out you're losing. So ask yourself, madam, what is in your community? What solution do you want to serve? And this solution, what's the class of clientele you have to ensure you're solving this problem today? How many people need this problem? How many people need this solution? Because if it's a solution that is not needed, you might actually be wasting your time. But how many people need this solution? And if you know the crowd that needs this solution is enough, of course, you want to start from somewhere. So I really might not be able to tell you an exact, but you can ask me specific. I want to do this business. Then I can pick up that business and explain better to you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Thank
You
you.
understand?
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So I go to, so what is business process? So we've talked about structure, right? And we're talking about a business, the process. A business process is defined as a collection of business tasks and activities that, when performed by people or systems in a structured course, produce an outcome that contributes to business goals. Yes, I've talked about structure. I remember I said, okay, there is a structure. When you have a structure, there is a process. A process is like the driving force. It's like the movement, the vehicle that moves through the structures. Do we understand? So if you have a structure and you don't have a clear process, if you have a structure, you don't have a clear process, you are not working. So structure and process cannot be separated. They go hand in hand. I have built a structure. I have built a structure. I have built my business. Oh, my business is a corporation, but there are processes that you have to go through to ensure that you are living up to the corporation model. There's a process you go through to ensure you are living up to the sole proprietorship model. Because even a sole proprietor is doing business for profits. And if there's no process, if you don't have a process, okay, like someone says the father is a distributor. As you're a distributor, there's a process in which you do your distribution. There you have time frame, you have the way you want to go, you have the channel, you have the time frame, you have the channel. How do you want to distribute? What model do you want to use? So processes are actually, a business process includes at least one, but not limited to the following elements. So we are going to the next. So task and activity. So remember that you have built a business now. You want to run a restaurant business and you have built the structure. So your structure, you have kitchen where you'll be cooking, right? You have kitchen where you're cooking. You have your store where you'll be storing your food stuff. You have your admin where you want to run everything, cashier, and all of that. Now you have all of this structure. So every morning when people come to work, if I come to work as a cook, what is my task as a cook? I'm trying to come down to us to understand. This is very important. So I'll have to use a visible, explanation for this. What exactly do I have to do if I come to work every day? If I have built a restaurant, I have structured it as a restaurant, a restaurant, and have put in people. What are the tasks? A lot of organizations have staff, many staff everywhere. I'll tell you a story. I once worked with a hospital when I was newly employed as a business developer. I got there and I saw there were like 77 employees. 77 employees. I was like, wow, how many bedrooms? The hospital is just 7 bedrooms. But there were 77 employees. I was wow, like this is why are you having too many people running a small business? This will cost the company so much. And then every time I hear we are short of employee, why is there nobody on duty at night? Oh, we are short of, I'm like 77 people. I had to look into it. I said, I want to see what everybody does here. I want to see the job description of everybody. It will help me understand what these people do. And by the time I checked through, I understood that we needed like 30 people. So the other 47 people are just occupying space, but because there is no clear task and activity, The company was paying employees so much for nothing. So when you structure your business, you have to create a process of task and activity. If you are a tailor, you decide, okay, you need people, somebody who will be cutting the materials. You need someone that will be, you need someone who will cut, you need someone who will sew, you need someone who will package, who will iron, and someone who will package. These are the tasks. If you are a tailor, these are the tasks. So anybody you employ, because of there is a clear task, you are able to know when you are short of staff. You're able to know when you're not short. You're able to know, because without this, remember the structure of this business is a tailoring firm. You sew and you sew and you sew in and you distribute out. You have a structure you have put, it's glamorous. You have structured in such a way that you have a particular clientele that is coming. Now, what tasks will you create that people have to go through to be able to meet up to the standard you have set, the structure standard you have set? So task and activity is one of the things that makes up process. Then systems. Now, systems is one of the most dangerous thing in every organization. I realized that a lot of companies, in all their dreams, they lack good systems. And if you lack good systems, you give loophole for waste. You give loophole for inefficiency. You give loophole for, people actually losing their confidence and their courage as employees. So system is very important. What system have you set in place? System to checkmate leadership, to checkmate bosses, to checkmate employee to employee relationship, to checkmate clientele to employee relationship. There must be a system. Some people bring it in form of policies, but there is a system. There's a system that checkmates payments. There's a system that checkmates how do money come. How do we ensure that, okay, for every business we did a day, we made the money for this business, and this is where the money entered, and we can give accounts. We can give account of the data, financial data, give account or employee data, give account for clientele data. These are systems. Thank God for tech, making a lot of system creation easy. But one thing I tell people, if you do not have the system you want in your head, even if a technical person comes and says, what do you want me to create? If you can't explain, we need to also understand that this tech do not work on its own. Human beings work through it, right? It's human beings it's the mind of humans that tech works with. So if you do not have a system in your mind that to say, okay, every day, the system have created for finances, every day I need money to go to the bank. And how do I ensure money goes to the bank? Who is in charge of this to ensure this? To ensure no money stays, no money sleeps in the office. What system have you created? You can say this, but if there's those, and if the system is created, do you actually follow up the system? How do you judge that the system is working? These are part of processes. So any company that does not create a working system, it becomes a problem. Even the staff, they end up hitting, there's so much chaos in a place where there is no system. So systems are actually very, very important. And it's one of the things that makes up your process. Then your workflow. I come back to when I talked about the tailor. You own a tailoring outfit. There is a workflow. You know that if somebody brings in their clothes, their material, I want you to sew this for me. There is someone who will take the measurements. That's, you come in, I listen to you, I know exactly I take exactly what you want, the description of what you want me to sew for you. When I take that, I know the next thing is, I want to take your measurements. I'm telling you what workflow is. I want to take your measurement. After I take your measurement, the next thing is, okay, this is what and what it will cost you. This is when you will get it. So there is, from then it moves to who is the next person. Cut this material. From someone who is cutting the material to the person who is joining the material. From someone who is joining to the person who is ironing. From the person who will iron to the person who will package. This is workflow. So you see, one thing with workflow is if one person misses it, it becomes a problem. So if the person who is to iron this cloth isn't there, the packager would package a rumpled cloth, and that can mess up the whole work that was done. So if the person is going to wear the cloth the day he was going to come to the person, what happens? The cloth is rumpled. So you see, workflow is very important. So from the beginning, if your structure is good, you know the right people to put in it, because you have a good structure, you know your process, and you know the right people to put there. If there was no structure, if you don't have a structure of how, so this my tailoring, one person does everything. There's no control. There's no sewing place. There's no packaging place. Once I come in, it's just like an open place. Everything happens anyhow. So anybody who comes in would even, so you come in and you see everybody's clothes are on the ground. We don't know the clothes that came in last week, the clothes that came in this week, who's going to get theirs first. So there is so much chaos. Anywhere there is no structure, there is chaos. And anywhere that even there's a structure, but there's no process to ensure this structure is upheld, it still causes chaos. So you must have structured, yes, I have structured everywhere. There is a place for ironing, there's a place for cutting, there's a place. Yes, I've structured this, but there's no process on how it's supposed to go. There is no time frame for it. There's nobody place to ensure this is carried out. It becomes a problem. So your system also encourages your workflow. And one thing with workflow is that you must ensure it moves from one place to another. And data is, in fact, without data, you can't even give accounts of, you can't tell me if you have a good structure or not. You're an NGO, right? Data means so much to you people. From this meeting you're doing alone, there is a data that will be expected from you. Data of people that attended, data of, assimilation of this. All this data will be needed from you. Without data, you can't even say you did this. Without taking pictures of this, without videoing this, without knowing that, okay, so far we have 24 people here. If there is no proper, accounts for this, you can't even say you did a meeting today. So data is an important aspect of business processes. After I've spent from 8 to 5, the only thing I have to prove that the whole of today went well is the data I can give. And when we say data, it's not just name, it's not just number, but activities. So you must create a process for data too. How do you account for day-to-day activities? How do you account for the hours people spend? If you have employed people, you have given them tasks, you have created a system, there is a workflow, and there is a daily target. You need to give data that this target was met. And so you need to also create, how do you take data for daily activities? All of these are important because if you bring in investors, these are the simple questions they'll be asking you. So in a day, how many clothes do you sew in a day? In a day, how many food do you serve in a day? In a day, how many bags of this do you do? How many this do you do in a day? This is data. So if every day you do your business and you do not have data to prove what you did for a whole day, you have no structure, you have no process. So data is an important aspect of your business, and you must start from even when you were selling something as little as just one a day. So if you sold one today, you have data for that. When you sell 2 tomorrow, you sell 3 next tomorrow, it tells you your growth. But if you do not even know how much you sold 2 years ago, how would you know today that you have grown? So you see, data is actually very, very important. Then structuring profit maximization. Remember, I talked about people, process, and profit, right? Right? I hope
Yes,
we're not
ma'am.
lost.
Yes,
We're not
ma'am.
lost,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So we talked about people, we're done process, we're doing profit now. Yes, because from the time from your structure, you can have a picture of what your profit maximization would be like. Every business, everybody is doing business to maximize profit. Everybody is doing business to maximize profit. And the only way people will look at your business and say your business is good is how much they have seen you grown, not just in sales, but in profits. Not just in sales, but in profits. Because when people look at your books, I'm an investor, I want to come and invest in your business. I look at your books, even as an NGO, when I look at how much you have done for people, how many schools you have reached out, how many people you have touched, and what you have done. You have data for all of this. Those data can turn to profits because it is that data people see and international organizations wants to invest in you. So the only reason why an international organization will invest in your NGO is that you have data that has proven your growth. Because you are a non-government organization, you are not profit, right? You're non-profit. Because you're non-profit doesn't mean you do not make profit. Your profit is in your data. Your profit is in your success stories. Your profit is in how many people who can look at you and say, this organization did this for us. And their stories can actually add to your profits. So if you started with just reaching out to children on the streets, so I'm talking of structuring profit maximization, increase revenue for an NGO that does not do revenue. But of course, where you don't increase revenue, you increase data. And like I said, data can turn out to be your profits. So if last year you were reaching out to people within a little community, this year you have grown from one community to 3 communities. You have increased your revenue. The revenue might not be in money, but it's in data, which would definitely turn out to be money someday. So if you actually have started this for 2 years now, and within 2 years, you have not increased in any way, you have not moved from one place to another, there is no revenue of data, there's no increased data revenue, it's a problem. The same way with business. So you've been doing this business for a number of time. There's no increased revenue. So you've been doing the same profits over years. 2, 3 years, you're still on the same profit. It has not increased. The same revenue, it has not increased. We can't say you are going far. Yes, you might not be making loss, but nobody wants to invest in that. Nobody wants to invest in that. People want to invest in growth, something they know, okay, it's growing. So this is actually very important. If you want to structure profit maximization, increase revenue. And there are different ways to increase revenue. For a business, you can add more products. For a business, you can add more products. So you look at it, okay, what products am I selling before? After 2, 3 years, I can add more products because more products means I'm reaching out more customers. I can decide to, since I was just selling within my community, I can start an online which can reach more communities. So I can sell and do delivery packages. I can liaise with delivery team. So people who can't walk into the store, they can actually buy from their home and I deliver to them. So my revenue increases. I'm not limited to that small community where I started. For instance, I sell roti. By the streets. Yes, I'm selling roti by my streets. I can decide to say, okay, I don't want to sell roti only on the streets. I can decide to say, okay, I want to go to companies around me and tell them I can be delivering roti to them every morning. And they're okay. That is me increasing my revenue. So I don't just put my mind on the 100 people who come to buy every morning. If I start going out and reaching out to other companies, beyond that 100, I have other people. So it increases my revenue. Then cost evaluation. Very, very important. Because another way to increase profit, you might be able to reduce your costs. I'll give you an instance. I worked somewhere last year. When I got there, I looked at their papers and I saw they've been running for 3 years. And for that 3 years, they've been having amazing sales, but there is no profits. So I had to tell them, the way they hype, we make a lot of sales. I told them, I hope you know that there's difference between sales and profits. There's difference between sales and profits. So you can make large sales, but large sales does not tell us that this business is growing. It's profit that tells us that. So then I sat down and I told them, I want to check all the books. I want to check the store. I want to check your vendors' data. I want to know what these people are doing for you. By the time I used 1 month to check through the vendors' data, checked through all their books, I saw where the loopholes were. I cut off a lot of things. I discovered that these people, this is a restaurant. There are markets where you can go and buy things cheaper. And when you cook and sell, you make more money. But these people started buying things from the city market. They buy things from the city market that is created for the flamboyant people. You're doing business and you're buying things for city market. Now that's outrageous. But within 1 month, by the time I was done and cut off a lot of things, for that 1 month, we made a profit of 10 million naira. A profit of 10 million naira. After we removed everything, after removing cost, expenses, and all of that, there was profit of 10 million naira. And my directors called me and I told them yes, because I discovered what the loopholes were. And truly, of every loophole, it was cost evaluation. All I did was cost evaluation. Cost from vendors. We looked at some of the things we're selling too cheap compared to what so you're spending 5,000 now to make a meal and you're selling for 5,500 naira. Are you not considering where you are staying? Are you not considering light bill? Are you not considering water bill? I realized that their prices were just based on just the cost of production. They were not putting in every other factor into it. So I had to bring in my professionalism in price strategy. So by the time I was done with cost evaluation, I knew how much profit we made. So cost evaluation, even as you're running an NGO, if you realize that it's an NGO, is non-profit, except even if you have the whole world bringing money to you, you want to ensure that everything, now you've done a training, you're able to reach out to people on LinkedIn. Yes, this is amazing. You were able to get good people without spending so much. So relationship, you bring in for NGO, you bring in relationship, you use your network. These are the things you bring to check cost evaluation. You check within you, what are the skills people around you have. So even instead of you going to pay a printer for designing, you have someone within you that designs. That person's design, what happens? You are not spending that cost. So you understand that a project that you would have run with a million dirham, you might just know that you are not spending that much. You're not spending a million. You will just reduce it to maybe 500 because you have been able to check the cost, and within you have checked who is going to cover up for this cost, who is going to cover up for this cost. So at every point in time, you want to check your cost evaluation so you can help your profit maximization. Now, I have to always bring this to NGO because I know you all work in an NGO, and I need you to go back with something that can help your organization. So cost evaluation is very important for every event you are doing. Look at how much you have. Even if somebody gives you ₦1 million, you don't want to finish the ₦1 million. You want to keep some for more events ahead. So what do you do to ensure that you manage costing? Then the last is introduce outsourcing. Outsourcing, yes. There are some businesses that you might not want to, you might have to outsource some areas of the business. When you outsource from the beginning, because of outsource, you avoid manpower. When you outsource, you avoid manpower, you avoid the purchase of equipment. There are a lot of things you get to avoid when you outsource. All you need to do is pay for the production. The people just do the production and deliver to you. I'll give you an example for photography. When people come to my studio to take pictures, I can actually take their pictures. But if they want an enlarged frame, I don't have that money now to start catering for a production studio. What do? I outsource it to someone else. I outsource it to an already designed production studio. When I send it to them, I know how much. So even when I'm doing my costing with their price, with the price they're giving to me. I don't put myself, I don't put the pressure of trying to buy all the equipment at once. A lot of us make that mistakes. You want to employ everybody. You don't need to employ everybody. If you start, you might not need to employ everybody. That's why there are different levels of employment. Is my time up? I think my time is up, right?
No,
Okay, I
ma'am.
think,
If
yes.
you can, I think you can finish with the slides if you
Okay, it's the
have
last
some
slide.
more.
Yes, it's the last
Yeah, yeah,
slide.
yeah.
Yes, it's
Sure.
the last
Yeah.
slide.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So in conclusion, a good system shortens the road to the goal. A good system shortens the road to the goal. If you are setting up as an NGO, you want to check your system, you want to check your structure. The structure you have right now, the system you have right now, is it far away from is it taking you further from the goal, or is it taking you closer to your goal? These questions you might want to ask yourself, because at the end of the day, that you are an NGO, the earlier you begin to see the profit, the better for you, because it can be exhausting. Even the people that are working for you, it can be exhausting. So there is beauty in growth. There's beauty in development. You can build everything to ensure that day to day, people can look at the work they are putting in and they are seeing the result of the work. They will appreciate it the more. So with those few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you that developing a structure and process before you set up is actually very important. Thank you all. Thank you all. So I'm ready for questions, and you can unmute and say something, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was such an insightful session, and I hope our audience learned a lot of new things today. And the way you taught us today about choosing the right business structure and as it impacts the liability, taxes, and governance, successful businesses, how they remain agile and respond to market changes. All of that, I hope that was uh, insightful for our audience. And I hope
I can't hear you
I
clearly.
want
I
to
can't hear
thank
you clearly.
I
It's kind of
I
low.
want
I can't hear you clearly.
hello.
Yeah. Can you speak up a bit?
Uh, can you hear me?
Yeah, but your voice isn't so loud. So when you start talking, I can't hear you clearly.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, ma'am, I was just saying that thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for this session, and everyone had so much of learning time today with you. So, I have some few questions that I'll be
Okay.
asking you. So, how can a business ensure their process are efficient and maximize their productivity?
Okay. Okay. So, thank you for that question. How can a business ensure their process is enhancing productivity, right? Yes. We need to understand that processes are built, and it is built for the sake of productivity. So when you build a process, you keep checking out your process. You keep checking out your process. And don't forget that different processes will work for different businesses and different environments where the business is. So where you want to, there are things you look out for. When you create a process, you test run the process, right? From test running of process, you will tell yourself, but you can't even know the success of a business if you don't have an end goal in mind. That's why I say you can't. And also, I talked about data. One of the ways to know the success of your process is the data you carry out, you secure during the test running of this process. So I've test run a process, and during this, in this process, this is what I want to achieve. This. These are the things I want to achieve. Now, as you check the process, are you taking data of what is actually achieving for you? Do you have that data? Because it's based on the data you can tell. Nobody can tell you whether the process is working or not. You would go through your data. Even if an outsider comes and says your process is not working, you will go through your data. And from your data, you can tell yourself, okay, this process did not work. The other process worked more than this process. So if you're using a process last year, and while using that process, you understand that you are achieving, let's assume for people, you understand that you're reaching up to 200 people monthly. You now change the process. And now the process you're using now, you are reaching just 50, 70 people. You should be worried. Something is wrong with the new process. You might want to go back to the old process until you discover what is wrong with the new process. So data is the only way you can determine if your process is useful or not, is productive or not, is your data. So if you want me to check your process, whether it's working, I might want to see your data so far from when you started using the process, before you started, when you started, and where you stopped. So your data is the easy route to ensuring that your process is effective. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for answering. And someone asked, Mr. Narendra Singh asked that what are the tax implications of these business structure and what are the current trends in this field?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Okay, so what are the tax implications of these business structures and what are the current trends in this field?
Okay. Okay. Let me get that again. The risk in business structures. Did you say come again, please?
Yes, ma'am. So, what I was saying was, what are the tax implications of these business structure?
Okay, tax implications. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and he asked, he also asked that what are the current trends in this field?
Okay.
Yes.
So for sole proprietorship, like I said, it's just one man. Nobody might even know you. You might not be paying tax, depending on the country. Some countries are strict on tax. So no matter whether you're a sole proprietor, there's a tax that goes with it. But there are some countries that the moment you're a sole proprietor, nobody's looking at you, nobody knows. You might be doing the business all the way from your home. Nobody's looking at you. So they kind of escape tax. There are some tax implications they don't get involved in as a sole proprietor. But the moment you move to partnership, even the partnership, it still depends on the kind of business. It still depends on the kind of business. So when you come into that kind of business, you want to look out for, okay, the level of the business. Number one is whether it's partnership. The question is what kind of business? What kind of business? We could be partnering to teach people. We could partner to go on street to teach people and all that. Nobody should expect tax from me, right? So beyond being a partnership business, you also want to look out for what kind of business they are doing. Like here in Nigeria, if you're doing a medical business, you're not expected to pay tax because it is expected that you're actually serving the community. So if you're doing a medical business, you're not expected to pay tax. Whether the hospital is massive or not, whether it's a corporate venture or not, you're not expected to pay tax. It's medical and all of that. So, but when you're doing a corporate business and you're doing it, so that's why from the beginning, you say it's a structure, it has its jurisdiction. So the question is, what's the business structure? What are you looking at? NGOs don't pay tax. NGOs don't pay tax. But once it's a business, the kind of business you're doing, if it's corporate business, tax is expected. And there are percentage. Then when you look at the percentage, of course, that is why when you structure your business, you're structuring a department that ensures that tax is being paid and your certifications are given to you every year. So corporate organizations are expected to pay tax. They pay the national tax, they pay the education tax. There are different taxes depending on the country. And also limited liability companies too. There are taxes they pay. They pay taxes. They pay taxes, employee taxes. They pay educational taxes. They pay national taxes. So there are different. So the corporate ventures and the limited liability ventures, there are there's a lot of tax implications. But do not forget, the moment they are able to clear these taxes, it gives them access to do government jobs. It gives them access to bid for contracts from the government or international organizations. Even international organizations do not give contracts to people who don't pay taxes in their country. So a sole proprietor might never be privileged to do any business for any international organization because they are limited. Do we understand? Did you understand, Tanuja?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for answering all these questions. I hope everyone got answers to all their questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today for this webinar. And if you have any additional questions, you can contact us through email or phone number, and we are happy to provide you with additional support. Please follow us on all our social media handles, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I would also like to thank my co-host Lakshmi. So thank you, Lakshmi, for being here.